Hello, this is Cath King from Seeking Health. Today's presentation is part 4 of a 5-part series of presentations on the myths surrounding protein. The myth I'm exploring today is that plant proteins are incomplete, and if you haven't already watched the first 3 presentations, it's probably a good idea to go back and do that now, because you'll need to know some of the science behind protein for understanding today's presentation. The incomplete protein myth was inadvertently promoted in the 1971 book Diet for a Small Planet by Francis Moore-Lappé, and in it the author stated that plant foods don't contain all the essential amino acids, so in order to be a healthy vegetarian you needed to eat a combination of certain plant foods in order to get all of the essential amino acids, and it was called the theory of protein complementing. Now, Francis Moore-Lappé certainly meant no harm, and her mistake was somewhat understandable. She wasn't a nutritionist or a medical doctor. She was a sociologist trying to end world hunger, and she very intelligently realized that there was a lot of waste in converting vegetable protein into animal protein, and so she calculated that if people just ate the plant protein in the first place, many more people could be fed. And in a later edition of her book in 1991, she actually retracted her statement and basically said that in trying to end one myth, the unsolvable inevitability of world hunger, she'd created a second one, the myth of the need for protein complementing. And in these later editions, she corrects her earlier mistake and clearly states that all plant foods typically consumed as sources of protein contain all the essential amino acids, and that humans are virtually certain of getting enough protein from plant sources if they consume sufficient calories. But the protein combining idea was contagious, and since then it appeared in every other book by every other vegetarian author published after that, and it made its way into academia, into encyclopedia entries, and the Western mindset. And unfortunately though, the idea that protein combining is necessary was absolutely wrong. Okay, so what's the truth? We've already learned that all plants and animals, including us, are made of protein. But because each plant and animal is an individual, they all have their own unique combination of proteins. So the protein in broccoli is not the same protein that's in spinach, and the protein in a cow is not the same protein that's in a person. The protein that's in me is not the same protein that's in you. And we each have about 2 million different kinds of protein that makes up our body. And this comes about because protein is made up of amino acids. There are 20 kinds of amino acids, and some of them are known as essential amino acids, and we need to get these from food, and some are non-essential because we make them ourselves. A single molecule of protein may contain as many as several hundred or even thousands of essential and non-essential amino acids, and these amino acids are linked together within the protein molecule in a unique fashion known as peptide linkage. And a specific protein contains a variety of amino acids linked together in a sequence specific to that protein. So we don't actually need to consume protein at all. We need amino acids, and we build the protein that our body needs using the amino acids. The protein in plants appears as individual amino acids, and this makes them really easily absorbed by the body. They are ready for us to use. They sit in a pool and wait for us to need them to build the specific protein that our body needs. And in contrast, the amino acids in animal protein appear as globular proteins, which needs to be first broken down into its constituent amino acids before it can be stored or used. Plant proteins are in fact complete, So for example, kale contains all essential amino acids, spinach contains all essential amino acids, even bananas and blueberries contain all essential amino acids. Many nutritionists, doctors and the media have used the typical kind of combination of beans and rice as an example of good complementary proteins. And yet it makes no sense, because rice contains all essential amino acids and so does beans. And you can check this out for yourself on apps like Chronometer. If you input rice, brown rice, or input whatever kind of beans, it will actually show you the breakdown of nutrition, including the specific amino acids in each food that we eat. And even if some plants don't contain every essential amino acid, most plants do, we also have what's called an amino acid pool. And the amino acid pool describes the entire amount of available free amino acids in the human body. So remember that when we consume protein, it gets broken down in the gastrointestinal tract into individual amino acids, and then it gets put back together again as new protein, and this process is called protein biosynthesis. So the body can't use or assimilate protein in its original state as we would eat it. The protein must first be digested and split into its component amino acids, and the body can then use these amino acids to construct the protein it needs. So the ultimate value of a food protein actually lies in its amino acid composition, because it's the amino acids that are the essential nutrients in protein. Amino acids are the end products of protein digestion. So when protein is eaten, enzymes in the stomach and the small intestine begin to break the linkages within the protein molecule and produce shorter and shorter chains of amino acid. And eventually the amino acids are in a simplified enough chemical form so that they can pass through the intestinal walls into the bloodstream. And they're then carried by the portal vein to the liver for elaboration, and they're passed on to the blood, lymph and cells. And the cells synthesize the amino acids into proteins as required. From the digestion of proteins in the diet and from the synthesis of the non-essential amino acids, the body has all the different amino acids circulating in the blood and the lymphatic system. So when cells need these amino acids, they grab them from the blood or the lymph, and this is like a continually circulating available supply of amino acids, and that's what's known as the amino acid pool. So it's kind of like a bank that's open 24 hours. The liver and the cells are continually making deposits and withdrawals of amino acids depending on the concentration of amino acids in the blood. And when the number of amino acids, for example, is high, the liver absorbs and stores them until it's needed. And as the amino acid level in the blood falls, because cells will be making withdrawals, for instance, the liver deposits some of the stored amino acids back into circulation in the bloodstream. And cells also have the capacity to store amino acids. So if the amino acid content of the blood falls, or if some other cells require specific amino acids, the cells are able to release their stored amino acids into circulation. And since most of the body's cells synthesize more proteins than are actually necessary to support the life of the cells can also reconvert their proteins into amino acids and make deposits into the amino acid pool. So between the deposits and the withdrawals made by the liver and the cells, there's this kind of continual flux of amino acids in the blood and the plasma, and this circulating source of amino acids, as well as the potential availability of the amino acids stored in the liver and the cells, makes up this amino acid pool. And this pool of amino acids is really important in understanding why complete proteins aren't necessary in the diet, even though most plants do contain all essential aminos. Anyway, that's all for today. I hope you found this presentation informative. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to watch more health and nutrition presentations, please subscribe to my channel. If you'd like any other health tips and information, please go to my website for articles and recipes. And if you need help with your own health, you can check out my services and my packages. Next time, I'm going to be exploring the final protein myth, that animal protein is superior, and I'll also talk about the protein needs of athletes and bodybuilders. Thanks very much for watching.